Welcome to another edition of the Smart Gamble. And if you're watching here on YouTube, you can tell it's a jam-packed show, guys. Welcome to the Sweet 16 episode of our
and all the heavy hitters,
Heavy hitters indeed. Obviously, I'm Norm, joined by Lily and CJ as always, and some familiar faces if you've been watching the show throughout the NFL season, at least. Lily, we're keeping it in a family again, are we not? Introduce our guests.
We are. This is my father, Tom, and my nephew, Brandon.
Hello, everyone.
Tom and Brandon, thank you for joining us yet again, guys. I think each of you were on separate episodes. Glad to have you both on the same episode now. And we've got a lot to talk about.
We do.
Obviously, this Sweet 16 episode, we're going to be diving into the second week of the March Madness tournament. But I did want to bring up some NFL stuff before we jump into all recapping the first weekend and previewing the upcoming one, because lots of news this week in the NFL. And this is, I think primarily a football podcast. And then we had some news break like 20 minutes ago.
Right. I saw it.
So right there, Tyreek Hill's a Dolphin now for a ridiculous package.
Yeah, obviously a ridiculous package that KC didn't want to pay because he's still a pretty good receiver, but I guess not at the right price.
I mean, not even just he is now I believe I saw he's the highest paid non-quarterback in the entire league. He's getting paid more than TJ Watt, who I believe held that crown for a little bit, but was it a 1, a 2, a 4? I mean, they gave up quarterback trade value as well for a wide receiver who, the guy is like an alien on the field sometimes, but is him and Waddle are going to be great, but is this a good move in the long run for the Dolphins?
It might be good on paper, but I personally, again, I don't hate Tua, but I don't think he can get the ball to him deep, I'll tell you that. So I think Lily might have a better arm than Tua. So throws a deep ball pretty well.
Right. Right. And I guess thoughts on some of the other moves, guys. Matt Ryan to the Colts, the Deshaun Watson fiasco finally concludes with him joining the Cleveland Browns, which leaves Baker Mayfield out on the streets. The quarterback carousel, it's spinning, guys.
Well, can I just inject something here?
Yeah,
my brother lives in Cleveland. Okay. He's my younger brother. I called him that morning before they announced the trade. And he said to me, no way are they going to get rid of Baker. He said, I'm hoping they give Baker a 3-year deal, so forth. I go to the gym I go to my grandson's house. He tells us, a dinner rather, and then he tells me that they just made a deal for Deshaun Watson. I said, you got to be kidding. I said, my brother swore this morning that they weren't even in the talks. They threw him out of the meeting.
Yeah, what happened.
I'm kind of shocked about that.
Yeah.
I called my brother the next morning. I said, boy, I'm happy to see that the Cleveland fans really know what's going on in Cleveland.
Oh my goodness!
That was a very bad trade.
You think so?
Wow! I agree.
I think
PJ, think about it. They give him up 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and a 4th. You're giving away 3 years of your draft. I want to give you, for instance, Deshaun goes out the second game, breaks his leg. Then what do you got?
Or gets suspended still, which could still happen.
Right. Or
that
gets
suspended. Yes.
Right.
So
absolutely. It's just too much to give up.
It is.
And then they guaranteed his $230 million salary.
Right. There's no denying he is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league when on the field. But what they gave up, and I don't hate Baker Mayfield either. He hasn't obviously, taken the Browns to the AFC Championship game or anything, but I think there's been a lot of other stuff that's going on in that locker room and on that team that has hindered him besides Baker Mayfield's play. I don't know if that seemed like a move Kevin Costner would be making in draft day for the Browns. That's all I'm going to throw out there.
Hey, I like the move, man. You get a guy like that, you do whatever it takes to go get it. The Browns are in prime position to win the whole thing now. They
Brandon,
got
what happens if he breaks his leg the second game? What do you do then?
Well, you're hedging your bets that he doesn't. That's all you
but
gotta do.
that's some hedge. That's some hedge, Brandon.
It's
Some
tough.
hedge.
It's tough. Injuries happen. It's tough. You can't think. It's tough to think like what happens if this happens. I mean, if Tom Brady goes out and breaks his leg, like because he's back now, or if Patrick Mahomes goes and breaks out his leg, it's tough for the Chiefs too. But
I agree completely. But the unfortunate part is that you just gave up the next 3 years of your draft.
It's a good point.
It's
Gave up the
they're
next
rolling.
3 years of your draft.
I think they're rolling the dice that the team around him right now is good enough that him or the improvement from Watson over Mayfield is good enough to get them at least closer to getting over the hump. And
Well, I think what you said earlier is true, that there's still things going on in the locker room, and if Deshaun steps in, he may not fit in with this group.
right. It'll be
Then
an
they got
interesting.
they got a bigger problem.
Right.
Cleveland remains one of the focal points of the league,
Yes.
as they tend to. But I guess real quick on the Indianapolis Colts upgrading from Carson Wentz to Matt Ryan. Upgrading? Is it an upgrade?
More like a lateral move.
Yeah.
As much as Matty, I mean, we think of Matty Ice as a guy who blew the Super Bowl a couple of years ago to the Patriots, but he's still a pretty good quarterback. I don't think he's a guy who's going to throw that heart-wrenching interception the way Wentz always does. So I'll take Matty Ice slightly over
I
Wentz.
would too. I would too.
Yeah. I think it's a slight upgrade, and it keeps the Colts relevant, and competitive, which when you think about it, outside of the year Peyton's having 4 neck surgeries, they've been competitive since what, 2000? It's over 20 years now they've been in competition. So
They have. I
think they didn't want to fall back just yet. All right, guys, let's jump into some March Madness here and recap the madness that happened last weekend. And it never disappoints, but we got the madness. Who all's pulling for St. Peter's, guys, right? What are your key takeaways, I guess, from the first weekend? Is it St. Peter's? Is it Michigan? Is it some of the upsets? Is it Baylor, the number 1 seed going down? What's your big takeaway, guys? We'll start with you, CJ.
I was driving around Vegas the other day during the Baylor and Carolina game, and I saw that Carolina had a 25-point lead in the second half at one point. Baylor comes all the way back to tie it, to go to overtime, only to lose. I said that was the game. But of course, this is Baylor, the top seed in that region, even more so. Defending champs. Carolina is got a pretty solid team. Yeah. I'm not shocked that they won the game. I just am shocked as how they won the game.
Right, absolutely. Brandon, what's your big takeaway?
I mean, that was kind of my big takeaway too, is that North Carolina was up by 25 points before their best player got ejected from the game. So imagine how they're going to be, I feel like they could be a Final Four team with how this front court plays. And if Caleb Love can rebound and have a bounce back tournament, because he played terrible against Baylor and they still won.
Yep.
So if Caleb Love can bounce back, they can win this whole tournament.
And you mentioned them making a Final Four trip, and we'll make some Final Four predictions before we wrap up this episode today. But when you look at how the bracket shakes out, there always seems to be one region that just blows up instantly, even before the first weekend is over. And you can kind of say that about the East. With obviously you've got St. Peter's as the number 15 seed still alive. You've got the number 1. You got an 8 and a 4 and a 3 versus a 15.
Right.
Now, 2 of those teams got to make it to the Elite 8, and one of them's got to make it to the Final Four. It might be Purdue, and we might still get a semblance of chalk out of the East, but it always seems to have one region blow up, and there is a couple other candidates. You look at the Midwest, could be a candidate, but I guess that was the East this year, huh?
It was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other, we had a couple other big seeds go down. Obviously Auburn losing in the second round as well. Wisconsin completely threw my bracket. I mentioned them last week. They were my pick to win it all. So
that was the one that shocked me the most. Wisconsin is like a lot of those Big Ten teams, very, very solid. They shoot the ball well. They play really good defense. They don't turn it over. And for some reason, they just couldn't score the other day. Yeah. Just could not score.
That's
Iowa State plays great defense. They're one of the best defenses in the country, and Wisconsin just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, and that's we see it every year. That's the tournament, is if you have one bad night or you run into that matchup. Matchups don't always get brought up from the casual, deep dive fan of. Yeah, you got to remember that some of these teams don't play full court presses in their conference every year. They're not used to being pressed so often, or the zones, or these controlled, milk the clock, the shot clock kind of offenses. You don't always see these throughout the year, and all of a sudden you hit it on one cold night in the tournament and you're done.
That's right. Absolutely.
And that's how we end up where we end up here. Any other takeaways, guys, before we hop into the Sweet 16?
Let's hop
into it then. Let's start then with that East region, the blow up region, and let's start with UNC. I am almost surprised they're not the favorites over UCLA.
Yeah, I see them right now as a 2-point underdog to UCLA, which basically is a pick 'em to me. I think Carolina wins that game, no doubt in my mind.
I think so too. Yep.
Right.
Angie's rooting for UCLA, by the way.
Okay.
My daughter.
Yeah, I'm going to pick UCLA. I picked them to go to the Final Four originally, so I'm just going to stick with them for now.
Okay, interesting. So yeah, it's funny, the teams that don't make a lot of noise that first weekend, maybe like a UCLA, how they have to kind of like prove themselves again. It come to Sweet 16, everyone's talking about some of the other teams, and UNC versus UCLA is a pretty blue chip matchup for an 8-4 matchup.
Yeah, I mean it's a really great counter matchup too, because UNC, they've got one of the best front courts, if not the best front court in the country, and UCLA probably has the best guard play. So it's going to be whose weakness is going to be exposed the most, and that's how it's going to be won.
Right.
Well, one of the best backcourts is Arizona. I saw that team for the first time last night or the other night, and Koloko and Methuen, those two boys are really terrific players. Outside of them, they don't have much of a team. I think if a good 3-point shooting team with one or two big people who plays halfway decent, they're going to beat Arizona.
Okay.
This is a team that is coming into the tournament for the first time. I believe that this tournament is so awesome and so awe-inspiring that you wind up with young guys. Don't forget, like Kentucky. Everybody was shocked with Kentucky. Kentucky's got 18, 19-year-olds playing against guys that are 24, 25. And we'll discuss it later. That my feeling is that one of the teams that I picked to go all the way has that combination of older, mature players that have been in the tournament many times with a coach that's been in there many times. And that's why I think Villanova is going to win it all.
Yeah, baby.
We will get to the South region in just 1 second and talk about that, because I think you're onto something there. But that's why I chose Wisconsin. I like the coaching and the good mix of young and experience. But you never know what happens in this freaking tournament. Well, let's quick wrap up the South region then, because we can't gloss over Purdue versus St. Peter's, which I don't know about best game, but to me it's the most intriguing matchup, because Purdue coming into this tournament was a favorite for a lot of people, coming out of the 3 seed, and then St. Peter's is everyone's darling. Everyone, you see a 15 seed, everyone's going to root for them.
Again, another Big Ten team that's solid, like Wisconsin, like Michigan State and so forth. Purdue is a very, very solid Big Ten team. It'd be crazy maybe crazy if you think they won't win, because again, St. Peter's, I may throw a couple of ducats on St. Peter's just for the money line out here in Las Vegas. And but if I were to bet with my head, I would say St. Peter's doesn't win, but they cover the spread. It's 12.5.
Yeah, that's a lot of points.
Wow. That's a lot of points.
It's a lot. Yeah, I know it's a 15 versus a 3, but that's a lot of points for a Sweet 16.
For all those rankings,
now that's a smart gamble, CJ.
Yes. There you go. Shameless plug for the show.
If anyone has, we're going to be giving some locks away as well. If any of these games are your lock pick, obviously throw it out there while we go over them. I think we might be getting to one. So let's move to the South region. And Tom, is one of your locks? Are you taking Villanova is over Michigan? Is that? Am I gathering that's your lock?
You absolutely.
Wait till you hear this.
No question about it. Go with the seasoned team. They've got one of the best guards in the country, Mr. Gillespie, and they've got one of the best coaches in Jay Wright. I don't see them losing. I don't see them losing. And they're peaking at the right time now. They were earlier, then they lost a couple of games coming down the stretch, but now they've got their head screwed on right, and you could see the difference when they play the game. Even though they have a big spread and they get down 2 points or 4 points, they don't panic. They just keep coming at you, and they've got some excellent shooting from 3-point range, and they all hit the boards. They do everything basketball-wise right.
I want to key in on one thing you said there too. They have their head screwed on right.
Yes.
Michigan also now seems to have their head screwed on right too.
Yeah. But it's funny too.
To slap it into them.
It's funny too because again, speaking of slaps, Michigan they were 17-14 in the regular season, which is not very good.
No.
They didn't deserve
that incident with Juwan Howard seems potentially to have galvanized his team, playing very well. So again, I'm not going to pick them per se, but that one is going to be real close. I would take Nova in that game close over Michigan.
I would imagine the five of us all will be taking Nova in that game, but Michigan, you're right, Brandon. They did not deserve to be in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But the name power of the University of Michigan, the maize and blue, the name power of Juwan Howard, the storyline of what makes the top story of what happened. They got in because of the eyeballs and because of the money. But yeah, I do think they are a better team than their record showed in the regular season. I still think Nova's a much better team. It's just an interesting matchup there too, and two interesting coaches walking the sidelines there.
Don't sleep on Juwan Howard. He's a really good offensive coach. He's a
really his
name. He's bigger than his name. He's a good coach. He can coach with the rest of them. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And then Arizona, Houston, you mentioned it, Tom. I almost threw out, this would have been my lock had it not been. Oh, that's right. This game's being played in Texas. It's in San Antonio, not Houston, but you have to watch sometimes where these games ended up playing, and Houston being the home team in what think might be a pretty close game. I wasn't a huge buyer into Arizona, and I think, Tom, I might be on you with this one. I think I might take Houston over Arizona for the upset and to take out the second 1 seed of this tournament.
I saw the Arizona game, like I said earlier, and the team that they would fit perfect against would be Xavier. Xavier's got free handle, and they've got Nunzi, and they're 2 7-footers. And against the 7-footers from Arizona, I think Xavier would beat them because Xavier's got a better 3-point team overall.
Yeah, I actually think Arizona's my lock of the week.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
what game was that?
Yeah, the Arizona-Houston. I think Arizona, Tommy Lloyd's a Gonzaga disciple.
Yep.
He's a great coach. I believe in what they do. They play fast. I don't think Houston's going to be able to keep up. And I think they'll be able to rebound enough because they have the size over Houston. Houston's specialty is defense and rebounding. I don't think they're going to be able to do any of that against Arizona. And I think they're going to go all the way. They're my team that I picked. They're going to win the whole thing.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Arizona, as we've got one pick to win it all, and we'll all be giving our picks. So there's Brandon's. We got a little teaser there. Let's move on then to the Midwest region, where we might have a couple other. Well, actually, we know too, because Tom also said he's taking Villanova all the way on this one. But Midwest, Kansas versus Providence. This guy's is actually my lock of the week. I actually had Providence in the Final Four before I ripped up my bracket when Wisconsin lost. But I'm going to be taking the 7.5 Providence over Kansas on Sunday night. It should be on Friday night.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like that pick.
I like Kansas to win. I like Providence to cover as well.
Yes.
So
Right,
again, I mean,
yes.
but it wouldn't shock me if Providence win this game. I would not bet on them, but I would take Kansas to win. I would take Providence to cover.
I'd take Providence. I don't care what you guys say. When you play in the Big East, you play some of these teams and that's in the Midwest and out on the West especially. They don't bang them like they do in the Big East. When you come to play Big East, you got to be part football player, part basketball player, and it's a tough road. They call it grinding, but they beat the hell out of one another. And I don't think these teams are used to that. And when they come up in a tight game, that grit is going to win the game for them. And I think
I don't know. Having to
win
play for Bill Self might give you some grit because I can't stand the guy. But
yeah,
I can't stand him
well,
either.
I agree with Bill Self. But if you look at their last game, Kansas, what's the guy's name? Mbanji or whatever his name is? He scored like 15 points, but he scored them in the last few minutes of the game. He wasn't even in the game.
right.
And I'm saying to myself that they're struggling. I said, with anybody else, they would have beat Kansas in that game. Oh, it was Creighton. Creighton
That was
lost
Creighton.
them. And
Ladies and
Creighton,
gentlemen, what Tom was just saying is what is known as an East Coast bias. A couple of guys from Brooklyn, and trust me, I'm with
yes,
you. I'm
yes,
with you. Brooklyn all the way, baby. East Coast.
yes,
Yeah.
Brooklyn, yes, absolutely.
I
East Coast
think
bias.
all five of us, even though CJ's out there in the desert, I think all five of us have a little bit of that in us.
Yes,
Yes.
and I'm proud of it.
We're going to choose up sides and play a good old Brooklyn stickball game.
There we go.
Well, speaking of interesting matchups, though, I wanted to throw out there, what of the double-digit seeds left before we get into this next game? Out of the double-digit seeds left, which includes Iowa State and Miami, who are playing in the next game we're going to be talking about, has the best chance to make it as far as possible. Do you take one of these two teams, or are you taking St. Peter's, or are you taking Michigan? I gather from our last conversation, Michigan is not going to be one of the teams that we're all taking here.
No.
Obviously, one of these teams has to win. Does anyone see Iowa State or Miami making a run past the Elite Eight?
I think
don't.
so. I think Iowa State definitely has a chance. They've got a very good defense, and good defense can take you all the way to the Final Four. It can,
Yes.
especially in this tournament.
We've seen that from another Big 12 team recently. Look at Texas Tech, who we'll be talking about in a second too.
Yeah.
That's a defense. Defense isn't flashy, but I would say almost especially in the last few years, defense has really come to the forefront in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you look at last year, you look at Houston, you look at Baylor, you look at Texas Tech.
Yep.
These are the best defensive teams, man-to-man defensive teams in the country. And no matter who they got, they always go very far.
Exactly. And it comes down to, coaching and playing that defense, because you can have a cold night. You're going to have to win this tournament. You're going to have to overcome a cold shooting night. That's just the way the tournament shakes out. You got to have the defense that holds you in it.
Yeah, you got to do the dirty work.
There you go.
So Brandon, you've got, I assume that Iowa State winning this game over Miami. Is anyone taking Miami in this one?
I don't even think Miami even belongs in this tournament.
Exactly. I agree.
And
ACC bias, huh?
yeah, I mean, maybe
ACC's got to get like 14 teams in the tournament every year. Come on.
They earned it, though. They earned it.
Oh, yeah.
I think Larinaga did a great job. But Miami, I don't think anybody figured they would go past the first game.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
I'm really shocked. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta, if you're Miami, you gotta just, hey, we took down Auburn. We did what we could do. But we will see. We'll at least have one. We're guaranteed one double-digit seed making it to the second weekend. Will we see a double-digit seed in the Final Four? Brandon thinks so. I think a lot of people will be pulling for. Yeah. If you're like me and your bracket's already ripped up, that's what you're rooting for. You're rooting for chaos. So, I'll be rooting for any of these teams.
I'd like to know when the last year was that a double-digit made the Final Four.
I think it was a few years ago.
Yeah,
Was it Loyola Chicago?
Loyola Chicago.
Was it Loyola? Is that the last one that did it?
Yep.
Well, you know why that happened?
It was
Because they had the nun.
They had the, exactly. Yeah.
Sister Jean.
They had the direct link to God.
There you go.
Absolutely. That's why they were there.
Wait, actually, I think it was UCLA a couple years back.
Was it really? Okay.
Yeah, I think UCLA was an 11 seed.
Right.
They made the Final Four.
I think that was like, yeah, it was a year after that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like the year after that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had quite a few double-digit seeds make it. Fairly recently. Obviously, we've even before that was Wichita State a double-digit seed.
They may have been.
Or did they even make the Final Four? That might even be. But
I think
VCU. Like
VCU.
we've had some runs. We've had some runs, but we'll be guaranteed all either Iowa State or Miami's got to do is win one more. We'll be guaranteed at least one. But speaking of teams, I love to root against and rooting against teams. Let's move on to the West region. We're gonna skip the Gonzaga game for a second, just for that transition. Texas Tech and Duke. When is Coach K's final game? Is it this one?
I have two thoughts. Texas Tech has one of the best defenses in the country.
Yes, they do.
And so I can definitely easily see Texas Tech beating Duke, but this is only a 1-point spread. So people in Vegas are liking Duke. But the other side of this is, and there are basketball gods out there. Trust me, they are out there. Mm-hmm. Can you see Duke winning 2 games, Carolina winning 2 games, and then those 2 teams facing off in the Final Four? So I hope it doesn't happen, but you never know.
I like how you say you hope it doesn't happen. That's a sports fan's dream to have that happen, though. Except for unless you're a fan of one of those teams, you usually hate those 2 teams.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I think a lot of people are sick of Coach K's farewell tour, but
as far as I'm concerned, it ends tomorrow night, buddy.
There you go. From your mouth to God's ears.
I do think this Duke squad does not. I don't know if they've got the talent in them to, 1, make it to the Final Four in this tournament, and 2, make it to the Final Four in this tournament with that on their shoulders. I think even in that final game against UNC in the ACC tournament, I just don't think this team's cut out for this kind of pressure.
I just think that because I think a lot of the Duke players, they know this isn't their last game because they're all going to the league in a year or 2. A lot of the guys on Texas Tech, they're all seniors. They don't want this to be their last game. This is it for them. So I think, they're going to be playing like they really want it. And I think that might give them the edge over Duke with a bunch of 19-year-olds who are going to be in the league next year.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to that. To the next game. It's going to be the last game in the Sweet 16. And this is a very interesting matchup with Arkansas versus Gonzaga. And I believe, did Arkansas not beat Gonzaga earlier in the season? Does Gonzaga get their revenge in this one?
I say yes. I think Gonzaga is looking pretty good right now. Again, there's a couple of games earlier in this tournament that they didn't look as great, but
yeah,
I still think they're the better team. I think they win.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a Gonzaga fan, which I think there are actually, I mean, they've been that that, I wouldn't even call them Cinderella, that mid-major, I want to root for the non-blue chip team. They've been around forever now. If you're at least pulling for Gonzaga, you see Baylor go down, who knocked you out in the tournament in the final last year. They are the number 1 overall seed. I know, Brandon, you're taking Arizona to win this tournament, and obviously, Tom, you've mentioned you're taking Villanova, but you have to think Gonzaga now thinks this is their tournament to lose, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been so close so many times. I mean, they definitely deserve to be national champs. I mean, they definitely should have won last year or the year before that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely, I have them going all the way to the championship game, losing Arizona. So they could easily win that game. So
yeah,
like Brandon, before, I think on last week's podcast, I said that Gonzaga and Arizona were the 2 best teams in the country. I think they will meet in a championship game as well. So I definitely agree with you, Brandon. Gonzaga is going to go far.
Guys, you're forgetting my favorite.
Uh-oh.
Villanova's going to be in there Villanova's going to be in there in the final against Gonzaga.
All
and
right.
Villanova will win.
Okay.
All
He's
right.
putting his money where his mouth is,
Well,
folks.
I agree.
guess-
I agree with him.
Mr.
Okay,
Mr.
so
Cameron
we're
and-
doing our final four predictions. So there you have. So Lily, you're also
Well-
agreeing. You're taking Gonzaga and Villanova as your final.
Yeah,
Well,
but
that's your
you-
championship.
We
Yes.
should do our locks.
Right. Well, I have a couple of us thrown out. What, Lily? What is your lock? Of
My lock is Villanova.
Is Villanova as well? Okay.
Like father, like daughter, right?
CJ, have you thrown out? I believe you're the only one that hasn't thrown out your lock for the Sweet 16.
I have a couple. Again, like I said before, I think St. Peter's is going to cover. I think Gonzaga is a lock for me.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that one as well.
Yeah. So yeah, this is pretty interesting. Again, and I'm going to look on my little betting app and see exactly what I can get for St. Peter's, because I think they can cover. But I had the cojones, as they say in New York, to beat.
You're looking at what the
Purdue.
the
So, I
payout
mean,
is for the money line.
If I can throw out a $10 bill and win a couple of grand on that one, trust me, I'll do it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they're double digits. They're I
Yeah,
believe
12 and a half,
saw
I
the-
believe.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think 12 and a half was
That
what
money
I
line-
last-
That range. Yeah.
That money line's going to be big. I'm going to be looking at it too.
Yeah.
You never know, right?
Because everyone knows they're going to be rooting for them. So you might as well make it worth your while, right?
They
Yeah.
will become America's team if they win this next game. Trust me on that one.
I think they're America's team on by Friday.
I think Norman works for Caesar Sports. Betting.
He's a paid consultant.
So we've thrown out. Okay, we kind of skipped the gun here. We've thrown out our finals. Who is everyone's got as their final four teams? So we know a couple who we think is going to be playing on that final Monday. Let's go around the call here. We'll start with you, CJ. Who is your final four? And then I have to see you throw out who your championship teams are.
Final four picks. From the West, I take Gonzaga. From the South, I take Arizona. From the Midwest, I take Kansas. And I take Carolina from the East. I think they're
Okay.
going to get in.
Interesting. Tom, we know you got Villanova.
He's shaking his
and
head.
Looking incredulous at me here.
I take, I don't know if I'm right because I haven't got the sheets in front of me, who's which and which, but
Right.
Gonzaga,
Yep.
Mhm.
Arizona, Villanova, and who's the other one I'm looking for? I don't know, whoever it was. There's
Okay.
one other there.
Well,
Kansas.
Nova would have to get in over Arizona.
Oh, Nova's got to get in over Arizona?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would be Villanova, it would be Gonzaga, it would be Kansas,
Mm.
and who's the other team?
UNC, UCLA, Purdue, or taking
St.
St. Peter's
Peter's.
to make
St.
the Final
Peter's.
Four run, baby.
No, probably I'd give it to Purdue.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'd give it to
I
Purdue.
will throw out Purdue as my Final Four team from the East. I'm gonna be taking Gonzaga as my team to make it to the Final Four out of the West, as well as make it to the championship game. I actually do have them after scrapping up my original bracket and looking at it now. I do have Villanova coming in out of that and making it to the final to lose to Gonzaga. But
Norman, I always said you were a tall, good-looking guy. You know what I mean? I always said that, Norman.
Well, I'll give some more. I'll take Providence as well to come out of the Midwest. So we'll keep some Big East love going.
That away, Norman, that away.
my Syracuse Orange aren't in it to the division to begin with.
I'm a fan of
or-
Syracuse too.
or in the tournament.
Yeah.
So I gotta give some old Big East love.
All right,
Um,
so I had 3 out of the 4 that you picked, Dad.
Oh, yeah?
I have Villanova, Kansas, Gonzaga, but I have UNC.
Okay.
Oh,
Interesting.
they're out already, aren't they?
No,
No,
they're still
UNC
in.
no, they just took down
Carolina's still
Baylor.
in, yeah.
They just took
Oh.
down Baylor. And that's going to be an interesting matchup. So Brandon, you'll bring us home then. What's your, we know your championships, but who are your other 2 teams?
So, like I said, I had Gonzaga, but I originally picked Gonzaga, UCLA, Providence, and Arizona. So I'm just going to stick with that because that's what I had before the tournament. So I'm just going to keep it going
Hey,
until
man,
until one of them loses.
Well,
Not,
good luck,
not many
Randy. Good
people in
luck.
America got their Final Four teams all still left, so stick
I
with
know.
it.
I know my first bracket is in shreds. I picked a lot of favorites in that one. It's yeah.
Never works out. Never. Oh, nothing.
Doesn't
I pick
seem like
ever
it.
works out, so.
Nice.
All right, guys. Any final thoughts? It's I think, just to wrap this up, to kind of be the fanboy instead of talking about picks and whatnot. I think it's been a really fun tournament already. Will you guys not agree? Like, tournament's
Yes.
always fun, but some years it's extra fun. I think it's been a little extra fun so far.
The evidence of that, Norm, where you got a lot of 10 plus 11, 12 teams still playing. They went very far this year. I think it showed the parity in college ball because of all of the portals that went on. And that made it very interesting. I think this year has been a very, very interesting tournament for that reason.
Dad,
There's
let's
so
just
many
go
teams.
back. Let's go back for a minute. Talk about the player from New Mexico.
Oh, Mr. Teddy Allen. I thought that the game that he played against, who did they beat? They beat a Big East team. He was unbelievable. He was throwing the ball in from out in the parking lot, and it was going in. I have never seen anything like that in this tournament by anybody so far. He was just unbelievable. He was 13 for 13 in foul shooting.
Wow.
He was, the 3-pointers, they guarded him. They had two guys on him, and he wasn't even looking and threw the ball in, and it went in. He had a game that I haven't seen anybody play in this tournament yet. I think he'll go very high in the draft.
Obviously, sadly they lost to Arkansas, but you know what?
Right.
He had his one shining moment.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And that's what the tournament's about, is because these kids,
Yes.
this is their chance to have that memory for a lifetime. Because you got to remember, these are college kids playing, and not many of these kids are going to make it to play in the NBA. Some might go play professional overseas, but that's what I love about the tournament is you got I would say almost half of these kids that are playing in this tournament right now are going to be selling insurance and stuff like that. So,
or they'll go back, or they'll go back coaching CYO.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Speaking of which, my dad's going to do that with Brandon.
Nice.
Nice. Awesome, guys.
Well,
That's awesome.
Brandon and I are going to do it.
Well, that's awesome
Excellent.
to hear, guys.
Excellent.
I'm looking so forward to it.
Yeah, well, we wish you guys luck, and we wish
Thank you.
everyone luck in their continuing bets that they're placing, or if your bracket's still alive in your bracket pool. And we all cross our fingers that the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 is just as fun as the 64 and 32 rounds were. And we will talk to you guys next week before the Final Four.
Good.
Go St. Peter's.
Yeah,
Don't mess with New Jersey. Don't mess with New Jersey.
For our special guests, Tom and Brandon, and of course for Lily and CJ, I'm Norm. Thanks for tuning in, whether it was on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, reach out to us. Always check out the website and socials, smartgamble.com and at the Smart Gamble on all those socials. And we will talk to you then. Hope you guys enjoy the Sweet 16 and Elite 8.
Good luck.
Yes. Thanks
Thank
for
you for
joining us,
having me.
everyone. Love you
Thank
all.
you.
Yes, thank you for having me.